I'm shaking my head because what I'm about to tell you, you may not believe. First of all, I'm Bill Hawthorn. I've been a creative real estate investor for 21 plus years. Don't believe in using banks to get loans. It's all about creative real estate. It's all about buying and selling real estate, how we did it before the Realtor was on board. So it's old stuff, but it works really well. You know, simple things last the longest. But today, you're probably wondering after you read the title of this video, like, how the heck am I going to buy a house for $260,000, sell it for $260,000, and make 84 grand? Well, when I show you how simple it is, it's head calculating math. In other words, you don't need a bunch of buttons and tools and stuff to figure it out. It comes simple when you see it. Okay? I'm not going to drone on a long time here and keep you in suspense. I'm going to show you a clip from a seminar that I did that that people came to from all different parts of the East Coast, not the country, but from the East Coast to see. And I stole this clip out of that seminar. So we're going to switch from me being on camera, and I'm going to show you this clip that I took from the seminar because we recorded the seminar, obviously. And we're going to go from there. But before we start, before you watch this video, I got to lay the groundwork here, okay? Thomas Edison, you probably heard this. Thomas Edison was asked on his deathbed, what do you think the smartest or the most cleverest or the best invention, I think that's what it is, the best invention is on planet Earth? And on his deathbed, he said, simple interest. Now, remember what I'm telling you here as you watch this video, because you're going to be blown away. All right, enough teasing you. Let's go over to the clip. So here we go. So, what's the best way that I can teach you about each one of these? Do a deal. That was my realization this morning. I had this whole lecture figured out. Pete and I talked about it. I woke up this morning and said, nope. I'll make it real simple tonight. We're going to have fun. So I took what we did, threw it in the garbage, and here we are. I'm just winging it. You good on that? So if I make a mistake, you'll tell me, because I'm okay with that. Owner financing, what does that mean? Good. So, some of you might have heard this before. I'm sorry if you do. It's just one of the deals I did that for some reason sticks out in my head, but it shows a really good example of what owner financing is. Owner financing, by the way, most of the time is free and clear. Does anybody not know what free and clear is? Yes? No? Do I need to describe it?
They own the house.
There's no mortgage. There's no encumbrances. They can give me the deed and they don't owe anything. Okay? No liens, no mortgages, no taxes, nothing. Okay? So owner financing, you ready? So, my famous deal. Bought the house for $260,000. Sold the house for $260,000. And I made $85,000. What's the word? Anonymous? Anonymous? Is that an anonymous? Is that right? Is that the right word? No, that's just. What is it? It's not. Okay. It's a freaky thing, isn't it? How about that? You want to know how I did it? This is owner financing. So I'm not going to spend all the time I did a couple weeks ago on these. I'm just going to go through the deals and hopefully you get them because we're going to go on to the next one because we're going to do a deal for each one of these, deal structure. Okay? The house was worth $240. How much was the house worth? How much did I pay? Why? If you bought a house, if you bought a house for $250,000 and held on to it for 30 years, how much would you pay for that house? $700,000. So if I paid $20,000 over in my head, not that much. If you say it again, I didn't hear what you said. So I'm not that much, or I am?
$20,000 is not that.
Oh, I misunderstood you. Okay. Yeah, so $20,000 is not that much money. Now, we're not going to hold the house for 30 years, but you get the concept. If you buy the house and you pay interest. What did Edison say about interest? It's the greatest invention on planet Earth. I'm paraphrasing. Here's how I bought the house. I bought the house for $260,000. Write this down because this is a famous sentence. Principal only payments. You don't say interest free. You don't say, will you take a note? You don't say all those buzzwords that rattle people's cages. You say, I'll pay $260,000. I'll pay your asking price of $260,000 if you accept my terms. Okay, what are your terms? Principal only payments. Just made an offer. What's the offer? No, what's the whole offer? $260,000, principal only payments. And then the second half, because Ron LeGrand, who I love the guy. Do I love Ron LeGrand? I carry his book with me everywhere. I love the guy. Whenever I can plug him, I do. I love the guy. He's a grouchy old guy, smokes cigars, but I love him. He's just amazing. He says, only way to make money in the real estate business, flap your lips. I got campers, I got cars, my whole garage is full of rakes and shovels and lawnmowers and snow blowers. I didn't pay anything for any of it. Huh? I got my daughter's got a dog. I didn't pay. I paid something for him, but not much. He was a down payment on a house. The dog. He's a Chihuahua, pedigree Chihuahua that I got as part of the down payment. Okay. So I paid $260,000. I gave the guy a 5-year note. How many months is that?
60.
So if I owe $260 and I pay 1 month's mortgage of $1,000, how much do I owe that guy? Exactly. So if I do that for 60 months, how much did I just make? You get me? You follow along? Okay, let's do the other half of this so you can understand. I lease optioned the house for $1,800 a month. So where's the $1,000 payment coming from? What are they doing? They're leasing the house. What does that mean? They get the use of the property, not a principal reduction. How do you get a principal reduction on a property? Get a mortgage. And every payment you make has a principal reduction. If you go to the bank right around the corner and they charge you 3% interest, they do this thing that they call an amortization. What an amortization is, so if I owe $260 and I make a payment of $1,000, some of that money is going to principal, some of it's going to interest. But it changed the principal amount, so next month, the principal amount is different, right? So the interest is going to be different. That's an amortization formula. It breaks all that down, so every month of every payment that you're going to make in the 360 payments or whatever it is, it's going to break down how much is principal, how much is interest. I'm not smart enough for that. I want to do it my way. Nice simple math. $1,000, $259. $1,000, $258. $1,000, $257. I like that. I'm not a banker. I want to do it my way. So out of the $1,800, I paid the taxes, I paid the insurance, I paid the mortgage. I think, I haven't looked at this deal in a while, I think I cleared $400 a month after I did all that. Okay? You with me? Okay, so if I take the $1,000 and I pay this guy for 60 months, I reduce this price of $60,000 by $60,000. How much do I owe this guy? Good. So when this person cashes out at the end of 5 years, how much money are they going to give you?
$260,000.
And how much am I going to give this guy?
$200,000.
And where's the $60,000 go? Hit National Bank, baby, right here. Okay? But how much is that? So 400. 24,000. That's right. So You guys get that? 1,200 times 60 months equals 24,000. 24,000 plus 60,000 is how much? Is that okay? You guys okay with making $84,000? Well, he might cash out earlier, but in this particular case, he cashed out in 5 years. What happens if he doesn't cash out in 5 years? Call the owner up and you make another deal with him. What's he going to do? Throw you out? You had the house for 5 years.
The bill.
Yeah.
That was a lease option, right? So
When I sold it, not when I bought
okay, yeah, when you sold it with lease option, do you get a down payment from them on lease option?
it, 3 to 5%.
Okay.
The reason why I don't count it in the deal, because if this guy gave me $10,000, when it's time for me to close, I have to put the 10,000 back in. So the money, it's just a mind game. A lot of guys use that math when they do this. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So if the guy signs a contract with me for 260,
Right.
he gets to the end of 5 years, he's going to pay me how much? 250, because he gave me $10,000. So it's pay now or pay later.
Okay.
When you do the math, it's all the same.
Right.
So essentially, you get $10,000 now, okay?
Right.
Plus you get your rent every month. So it's a valid point, because actually I never talked about that. So if you have $10,000 of down payment money, if you listen to me, which you won't, and you keep some of that money in the bank, even 5,000 of it, how many months could you pay if the tenant doesn't pay you? 5. A little bit less, because you're going to pay taxes, insurance, but you got some money there. If you kept the whole 10,000 there and just let it sit there, how much would you have? Did I just take the fear out of this? Guy's going to give you $10,000. Oh yeah, by the way, what did I say this was? A lease what? So what does that mean? They're not tenants. I'm not fixing toilets. I'm not plowing the driveway. I'm not cutting the grass. I'm not doing any of that, because it says in their lease that they are responsible for that. Who's responsible for that? Anybody have a mortgage with the bank on a house? You guys have a mortgage with the bank on a house? Just 3 of you? Come on, who has a mortgage on a bank with a house? Do they come plow the driveway? Does the bank come plow the driveway? Does the bank fix your toilet if it goes bad? Then why can't we be the bank? Why do you have to be a landlord?
And if they don't make it through the 5 years, that's 5 years anyway, right?
I've got a house in North Haven that I'm selling right now. I'll tell that story some other, but I'm selling right now. We're selling the property right now, and we're practically breaking even. We're losing probably $4,000 or $5,000. We probably made $75,000 on that house, and we owned it for 8 years. The first guy that moved in paid us $20,000. He made it 10 months. Moved out, we put another tenant in for 10 grand. That's 30 grand. We took 30 grand when we borrowed the money and did the renovation. So that's 60 grand. And we didn't even rent the house. We only had the house a year. And then the tenant rented for 8 years. Get it? Owner financing. Make sense? Any questions? Kind of moving along here. We all right to move on? Yes? You seem a little dead tonight.
I think the hardest part of that is getting somebody under there for $1,800 a month.
Why? That's a good point. So how do you handle that objection? How would I handle that objection if you were a buyer? Let's go on to Google, my friend, Mr. Google. Let's get a mortgage calculator, and let's figure out at $260,000 what a 4% mortgage would cost you, with taxes, with insurance, and how much would it be? More than $1,800, or very close to. By the way, to your point, which we'll get to this someday, my whole buying system is, I believe that they should pay $200 to $300 above the market rent, so it motivates them to go get their mortgage. If you keep it lower than what it should be, they have no motivation to cash you out. So they get rewarded when they go get their mortgage or refinance the house to cash you out. Now, I only do that on houses I want to cash out in 3 or 5 years.
Houses that I want to cash out, that I want to go 10 years and let them just pay off my mortgage, they can stay as long as they want. I'll just make it normal. Because see, here's the deal. When you're the bank, who makes the rules? The guy with the gold makes the rules, right? So if you're the bank and you're controlling the property and you're controlling the money, who makes the rules? So if you want the house to cash out in 5 years, what do you get? A house that cashes out in 5 years. If you want it to cash out in 10 years, what do you get? A house that cashes out in 10 years. Make sense? But if you're the guy with the money, you make the rules. Now, how did you get the money? You did what I told you to do. You sent out your mail. You got motivated people to call you. You pre-screen them like I'm telling you. You negotiated a deal with them like I'm telling you to do, and you got the money. That's your job. That's what you're here for. Because back to where Pete started, you're looking for situations that we can do this. This guy was retired. He was looking for an income. By the way, this deal was a tremendous tax benefit for him because it was his second house. He didn't live in a house, it was his second house. So what does he got? Capital gains. Right? So what do you pay capital gains on? Money in. Right? So if you take in 260,000, how much do you pay? So if you've got, that's right, if you got 12 months worth of expenses against $260,000, you got to pay this much tax, right? Suppose you had 5 years worth of expenses over $60,000. Is that a lesser tax? Get it? He's got a tax benefit. Did you get that? So there's tremendous benefit.
Did you point that out?
Say it again?
I said, did he realize that?
Oh, that's a complete telling point. That's absolute negotiation. Oh, yeah. And how do I find out? How did I figure all this stuff out? You sit in 12 or 15 houses a week making offers, and you listen to yourself talking. I recorded everything. I listen to myself talk all the time. Okay? You after a while realize, what the hell did I say that for? Wait a minute. You wake up in the morning like, damn, I should have. And after a while, it starts to kind of, you get it. You do something over and over and over again, you get good at it. And you guys have that advantage of listening to me tell you these stories about how I figured out. So that's how I figured it out. Okay? Owner financing, we're good? Think you guys can do one of those deals? No, you can't. She's got one. Matter of fact,
oh no, that video was a mess. I did that some years ago in a mastermind group. There was like maybe, I think 15 or 18 people in the room. If you notice the board in the back, my sequence of my deal structures are kind of out of order. We used to do it a different way back years ago. So it's a little grainy. I apologize for the quality, but I think you got the concept of this simple math. So here's what I want to do now. During COVID, I have a meetup that I did that on my whiteboard, I actually show the math again. So I'm going to show you that clip next, and hopefully between the two of them. Now, I kind of rambled on a little bit in the first video. I left that stuff in there because there were people in the audience. They were, like I said, people that were paying me to coach them. So we went over some, how you find the deals and scripting. I left it in there because I thought you would enjoy it. But this is a little bit more concise, and the math is a little better. You can see it better. So let's go over that, and then we'll come back in a couple minutes, and we'll have a couple more things I want to tell you, and then we'll end off the video, okay? So let's go to that clip next, and then I'll catch you after that, okay? So take notes. Suppose I were to buy a house for $260,000 and sell it for $260,000 and make $84,000. Would you believe me?
If you're speaking, I believe you. Just explain how did you do that?
All right, so here's the reason why. It's what we call principal only payments. So here's what happens. Let's say this house is worth, I don't know, $240K. And it's free and clear. You only do this on free and clear. Means there's no mortgage. Hell, you could do this if this house is worth $200K. You could buy it for $260. Here's the reason why. If you were to get a mortgage on this property with interest, and you were to pay $100,000 for the house and get a mortgage, and you were to go 30 years on that mortgage at, we'll say, 4 or 5% interest, you're not paying $100,000. You're paying like $250,000 by the time you pay the interest. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. So if you overpay by $40,000, are you really overpaying? Because if you did the bank, you're overpaying by $150,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now watch this. If I owe you $260,000 and I pay you $1,000, how much do I owe you? $259,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
If I pay you $2,000, I owe you $258, right? If I pay you $3,000, I owe you $257, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So here's what happens. You sell this house for $260,000. You collect, let's say you collect, I don't know, $1,600 for a rent. Out of that $1,600, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take out, we'll say, $400 for taxes. And we'll take out another $200, which these numbers are not right, for insurance. No, I'm sorry. We'll take out $100 for insurance. I'm doing this wrong.
Also, the tax is too much.
Taxes are $300, insurance $100.
Months?
Right, so they're paying $1,600. Out of the $1,600 in rent that the tenant's paying us, we're going to pay $300 a month in taxes and $100 a month insurance. You with me?
Mm-hmm.
Gideon? Okay, good.
Yes,
so that means that we're getting $1,200 net, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this wrong because of the 84,000. So 1 second. So we're getting 1,700, and we're making 1,300. We're making $300 a month net. Cash flow. We're collecting 1,700 minus 13 minus that, minus 300 minus that means we have $1,300 a month net. We pay the owner $1,000, and then we have $300 a month in cash flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now watch this. The renter is paying $1,700 just to rent. They're not getting principal reduction. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Is it rent?
They're just paying for the use of the property.
Mm-hmm.
So every time they pay us $1,700, we reduce our mortgage by $1,000. So if you had a $260,000 mortgage times 60 payments of $1,000, that's 60 months is 5 years. You reduce the mortgage by 60 grand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of 5 years, your seller decides to buy, they still have to pay $260, right? They have to give you $260.
Mm-hmm. Your buyer.
You only owe $200. Yeah, your buyer. I'm sorry. Yeah, your buyer pays you $260, but you only owe $200 because you reduced this by $1,000 a month times 60 grand.
Mm-hmm.
So they give you $260. You only have to pay off $200.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a $60,000 profit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then you got your $300 per month cash flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 300 times 60 equals 18,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually 78,000. So you got 60,000 profit here, and you got $18,000 profit here. So that means you sold for 260. You bought for 260, sold for 260, and made 78,000.
So you you made the contract with the seller, like seller financing?
I bought a free and clear house, owner financing.
Uh-huh.
I promised them 260 and $1,000 a month, plus the taxes and insurance.
Uh-huh.
And I do all the maintenance, all the repairs.
Uh-huh.
I sell for 260. I sell for 260, and I collect $1,700 a month for a rent. Out of the $1,700, I pay $300 in taxes, $100 for insurance. I got $1,300 net. I send my owner $1,000, and I got $300 a month in cash.
Okay, so you put the people in the house like renters?
Yeah,
or
rent to own.
Lease, rent to own. Okay.
Yeah, lease with an option to purchase. So their option is going to be for 260, and their lease is going to be for $1,700 a month for 5 years.
Okay.
So every time they pay $1,700 to live there, $300 for taxes, $100 for insurance, and $1,000 for the owner. Leaves us with $300,000 in cash. And when you do the math, you're reducing the payment by $60,000. So when it's time for them at the end of 5 years to cash you out, they need to go get $260,000 mortgage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you only owe $200 because you paid the guy $2,000. You paid him $1,000 a month for 60 months. You only owe him $200.
Mm-hmm. So they don't give you any down payment.
Yeah, they do. Well, you can. I'm just showing you the math. I mean, you could do this a couple different ways, but yes, you are correct. They would. So even if you did do a down payment, you could get $20,000 up front and $40,000 in the back end. You're still making $60,000. It's just a matter of when you're getting the money.
Okay.
Now watch this. I'm doing a deal right now. Did I go over your head? Because I could do that. I go too fast.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay, now watch this. Gideon, you're going to like this. We have a property right now that we're looking to pay $540,000.
Wow. I don't like that.
It's owner finance.
Okay.
It's worth $500K. Will came up with this. This is Will's idea, not mine.
Oh, yes. I remember.
Okay. We pay $540. What he is saying is if we sold it, now we do it on owner financing, which means no interest. If we buy the mortgage, if we buy the house and he owner finances us for no interest, watch this. If we were to sell for $540 and charge the new owner 6% interest over the course of 30 years, it's $580,000 just for the 6% interest. Forget about the equity, forget about the cash flow, any of that. It calculates to be about $20,000 a year just for the interest, because we're paying no interest for our loan and we're charging 6% to our buyer.
So you said 30 years and we're making only 40,000 in 30 years?
No. By the time it gets done, he pays $1.3 million.
Oh.
We're making profit of $580,000. just for the interest. We're still paying this. Now, don't forget, we're doing principal only payments, so there's going to be a reduction in this. We're not even talking about that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This could potentially be a $700,000, $800,000 deal if we did this. So we're buying it for $540,000 and we're making like $700,000 or $800,000 off of a house profit. Because we bought it with no interest and sold it with interest.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when you listen to my podcast and I tell you the money is in the money, this is the reason why. The houses are just a way for you to write the contracts and make the money. What do you think banks do? Banks don't want houses. They want the contracts and they want you paying them the interest and all the fees. That's how they make their money. That's why they got the biggest building in every town. In every city, the CBT Bank and American National Bank, all the big cities got the tallest buildings because they're making all this money. Now, why would this guy do this deal? Because he thinks this property is worth $450,000. We're paying $90,000 over anything anybody else would give him.
In
so
30
we're
years.
We're overpaying $90,000 because who else is going to give him $540,000 but us? Now look at all the money we're making. I think it's like $700,000 or $800,000. Was that amazing or what? It's just math. Now, what I would like to explain to you is that these type of deals are not on every corner. I don't advise that you go looking just for free and clear houses and do just these deals. Here's the reason why. I have found over the years that people that have free and clear houses, most of them, not all of them, but most of them have spent 30 years saving this asset. This is kind of like a Christmas fund. You know, every month you put $5 in it, and then at Christmas time you go get your money out so you can go do your Christmas shopping. Free and clear houses are the same way. People will save and save and save, and then all of a sudden, one day, they decide they want to do something, you know, buy a different house or go on vacation or buy a mobile home. Or I'm not a mobile home, a driving camper, whatever they call those, an RV. You know, they get this crazy idea, and they're like, oh, I'll just fund it from all the equity I have in my house. I'll just sell my house, and I'll get all that cash. So a lot of sellers want just their cash. So the trick here is to convert that seller into an investor and have them realize that they can make a whole lot more money if they keep their asset in place and just earn money off of it, right? So there's a bunch of variants to this, which I'm not going to cover today. You know, like they could refinance the house and give you the payments and turn it into a subject to deal, or, you know, they could go buy a new house if they want to go buy a new house, and the payments you're giving them could pay that mortgage. You know, there's a bunch of different variants of this type of transaction. The point that I'm trying to make here is that these deals are not plentiful. They're not every free and clear homeowner that will sell you a house. But the ones you find are monster deals like I just showed you. So how many of those do you need to do in a year before you can retire, before you have a big fat payday? Not many, right? So just go do the usual. Talk to sellers, and you will stumble upon, I promise, you will stumble upon these types of deals. Okay? And then when you explain it to them in a way that they're actually making more money because of what you're doing, especially if they don't live in the property and they have to pay capital gains tax, capital gains tax is charged on how much money you receive. So if in our example, my seller were to receive $260,000 all at once, he'd have to pay the capital gains tax, which is his profit from when he bought the house till now, because he doesn't live in it, so he doesn't get under the Homesteader Act, all that kind of stuff. So those types of sellers are more apt to take payments, because if you pay them $1,000 a month, like in my example, sorry for my throat, they only take in $12,000 a year. So they take their $12,000 that year and they apply it against their expenses. If they were to take in $260,000, let's say that 200 of it was profit, they only they have to apply that $200,000 against that 1 year's worth of expenses. So they pay a lot more capital gains tax. So I'm kind of in the weeds right now, I know that, but the point is that this deal structure is worth investigating. I could tell you in my coaching group, when I'm coaching guys, this is one of the deal structures they bang me over the head the most and help me structure, help them with the paperwork. And these guys make, I mean, the last one I did for a coaching client, he made $200,000, like nothing. Oh yeah, by the way, it was an inherited house, and there was a brother and sister involved, and the sister actually paid the brother off without the brother knowing it. The brother thought we were bringing them the money, and then she financed us for the $100,000 she gave her brother plus her portion of the property, and we made like $200,000. Okay, so it's just creative financing. Okay, so just realize that all you have to do is just keep watching trainings like this, stick close to us guys, and we will get you help. Okay, so if this is your first video and you've never seen one of my other videos, make sure you go into the link in the description, click on it, and get in my 10-part series so you get all the other videos that are like this. If this is your video to watch because you're in that 10-part series or in the email sequence, then I have one more video for you on how we're going to tie it all together and make sense of it. Okay, so hang tight. I'll send that email to you tomorrow. All right, thanks for watching my video, and I hope we chat soon. Over and out.